So first off, there's a few other things I wanted to talk to you about. One, there's some great resources out there, particularly for the professors and things. If you're not familiar with Tribal College Journal, it's something good that people might look into. And if you're an Indigenous student and you're going, I had no idea there were even Indigenous colleges that I could have gone to. Maybe when you're going to for your master's, you might check them out. But the Tribal College Journal has lots of articles about Indigenous education and reform and colleges and universities across the nation that are there. We also have other great resources just to know more about Indigenous culture. If you're not familiar with Cultural Survival, you might want to look into that magazine. And they do have an online version for those of you that are so techie that you wouldn't ever buy a magazine anymore. I tend to like to fold them over and put, right in the margin. So I'm a little old school on that. And then just because it's Multicultural Week, there's a great book magazine called Teaching Tolerance. And some of you are probably very familiar, and others maybe not so much, which is also a great resource. And for those that do some work with young folks, sort of, not to say all of us can't read it, because there's nice articles in there regardless, but it's sort of targeting middle school. It's called Skipping Stones. It's in a multicultural magazine, which is very good as well. I was mentioning buying books written by Indigenous authors. It really gives some credibility to your content area. So if you're reading books, like if you're doing research, for example, if you're doing a paper, yes, you might have to use some of those original primary source documents and those primary books out there that are written by historians. But if you can find some that are about the similar topic but are from a Native perspective, you get a much fuller picture. And you also can glean from there when the author, the historian, is a little biased. And also from the time period from whence it was written, which makes a difference. There's a lot of Native authors today. This book here, Powwow, tells a story about powwow, and it was written by Linda Coombs, who's a Wampanoag. And the illustrations are also by an Indigenous person. And then Strawberry Thanksgiving was written by my aunt, Paula Dove Jennings, and illustrated by a Wampanoag by the name of Ramona Peters. And these were part of the Children's Museum Multicultural Series for professors that might be interested. It's not being printed right now, but I find that if you use the technology and get on there on eBay usually, or some of those other sources, you can find them. At Tomaquag Museum, we've started doing some writing because we felt that there was a voice missing in our communities, and so we did a community book called Through Our Eyes, An Indigenous View of Mashapaug Pond, that's looking at Mashapaug Pond and the ecosystem and the history and culture surrounding our families and historically living around that pond through the modern day. That particular pond was seriously polluted with major toxins that are in the ground even to this day, and in the water by Gorham Silver Manufacturing Company and some other companies that were around that pond during the industrialization of this country. But we're pushing today to write more books so that you can get an Indigenous perspective on various issues. So this book is a very environmental, very art-related book. It has lots of poetry, prose, narrative, storytelling, oral history. Even Dr. Bill Simmons from Brown, who's done a lot of research about the Narragansett tribe, has a piece in here, and some photography.
Thanks for watching. This podcast series is presented by Tomaquag Museum. Visit our website at www.tomaquagmuseum.org. Support this and other great podcast content at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/artways. The Indigenous Lifeways podcast is funded in part by the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts. Investment in arts and culture. Videography by Dana Nugent. Video editing by Dana Nugent and Michael Johnson. Music presented by Eagle and Hawk. www.eagleandhawk.com